The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
Well, it's Monday, and that means a new edition of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. You can send me an email at blackfocusradio@gmail.com. You can also call me at 615-554-0568. If you'd like to be a sponsor of this show, we are looking for sponsors. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And don't forget to support ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com, and of course JoynetRadio, where this show is on every day. You get the update on Monday, and then of course you get old shows from the past, but all of them are very relevant. So make sure you give stick and stay and spread the word. Like, share, and subscribe. We've got a heck of a show for you today. I'm debating. I was at Johns Hopkins Hospital yesterday. I think I'm going to relay some of that show to you today. I think I am, okay? I've got to relay my experience, and needless to say, it was horrible. I had to go to the ER on, I shouldn't say yesterday, but on Saturday. And I spent 10 and a half hours in the ER. So, wow. Unbelievable, to say the least. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Other things we've got going on the show today, and we want to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, and not in the aspect that you might think. I will give you more details on why I didn't watch, but more importantly, I want to talk about all of the people who are analyzing the halftime show, okay, and Kendrick Lamar, and why I simply don't care. All right. I have this saying: symbolism over substance plus activism means nothing. Okay. Symbolism over substance plus activism. Well, let me take that back. Symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Let me say it again. Symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the ethnic cleansing that is going on in Gaza, that is being supported by the Little Hands administration. We'll talk about that as well. I also want to get into what, and I'll marry this with the conversation about the Super Bowl. I want to talk about Malcolm Jamal Warner. Okay, and something that I've been saying, and a lot of hip hop activists and a lot of my friends who are into hip hop have been saying, man, you just wrong, you just wrong. Well, Malcolm Jamal Warner put out a piece, and I don't know how old it is, and I had planned to go out and look at the whole piece, but I got a segment of it that encapsulates what I've been saying about hip hop. And I don't care if you're mad at me, but at some point we've got to stop this stupidity. I also may get into the video of Dr. Umar Johnson as he talks about the N-word, because I would like to start a campaign to eliminate the N-word, period, end of story. And Dr. Umar Johnson, regardless of what you may think about him, he makes a lot of great points about how we as black people are in this predicament and how we need to get out of this predicament. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that's what's on the agenda. There's a lot of other stuff on there, but before I start, we've got to do Black Facts. And the reason today's Black Facts is important. You all have heard about AI, artificial intelligence, and why it is taking the country and the world by storm. But did you know AI is racist? You say, well, wait a minute, David, that's a computer. How could AI be racist? Well, it can be racist because guess who's doing the programming? White people. Okay? Garbage in, garbage out. And that's what's happening to AI right now. So we got a heck of a show. So let's go ahead and pause for the cause and let's do Black Facts right now.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Artificial intelligence is everywhere these days. It's affecting how we live, work, and interact. From chatbots to facial recognition to financial algorithms, its impact is hard to ignore. But let's be real for a second. AI hasn't exactly been a win for everyone, especially for Black people. And no, I'm not talking about how AI has the power to replace jobs. That's another story. I'm talking about the systemic racism and bias that's been implanted in AI. A problem that's becoming increasingly visible as this technology becomes more popular. There's a clear pattern here, and it's time we talk about it.
When we prompted the technology to generate a photo of a person receiving social services, it generated only non-white and primarily darker-skinned people. Results for a productive person, meanwhile, were uniformly male, majority white, and dressed in suits for corporate jobs.
AI doesn't exist in a vacuum. It learns from the world we give it. And if that world is biased, AI becomes biased too. There have already been lots of examples of this issue popping up even in popular AI tools like ChatGPT. Let's go through them, starting with one of the most serious issues, facial recognition systems. A report by the National Institute of Standards and Technology found that facial recognition algorithms misidentify Black and Asian faces up to 100 times more often than white faces. This is an imbalance that actually affects lots of lives.
Let's not make a show in front of your wife and kids because you are under arrest.
This is Robert Williams. 3 years ago, he was arrested on his driveway for a crime he hadn't committed.
They made a mistake, baby. It's okay.
The reason? Artificial intelligence mistook him for this man, who was suspected to have stolen thousands of dollars worth of watches.
In 2020, Robert Williams, a Black resident from Detroit, was falsely arrested in front of his home for a crime he did not commit, a mistake caused by artificial intelligence and white officials. Williams was accused of stealing thousands of dollars worth of watches from a Shinola store, based on a match generated by facial recognition technology. The AI system had identified Williams as the suspect, even though the actual thief, who was also Black, looked very different from him. Williams pointed this out immediately, but the officers explained that their facial recognition software had identified him as the culprit. Despite his protests, he was detained and taken into custody. Williams was held for 30 hours before those white authorities admitted their mistake and finally released him. This is just one example of how AI seemingly was not designed for people of color. Williams is not the only Black person who has fallen victim to this.
I guess I would say I lost faith in the justice system to know that you could be locked up for something that you've never done.
In 2022, Randall Karan Reed, a 28-year-old Black man from Georgia, was also wrongfully arrested due to another misidentification by facial recognition technology. While driving to his mother's home near Atlanta, Reed was pulled over and informed of warrants from Jefferson and East Baton Rouge parishes in Louisiana, places he had never visited. The warrants accused him of using stolen credit cards to purchase approximately $15,000 worth of designer purses. This misidentification led to Reed being detained for nearly a week in jail. His family hired an attorney who presented photos and videos showing significant differences between Reed and the suspect in the surveillance footage. Despite this evidence, Reed still endured 6 days of wrongful incarceration before the warrants were withdrawn. There are countless other cases like this.
African Americans are affected more by this technology than individuals of a different race.
Well, you know, there's always risk when you go to jail, but I felt more in danger when I was being detained because I know it was for something I didn't do.
There are countless other cases like this. The question is, why does AI continue to fail so often when it comes to identifying black people? The reality is, this problem comes from the built-in biases in AI systems, which happen because they are trained using unfair or incomplete data and are often developed without input from a diverse range of people. In short, this is what happens when AI databases are developed by predominantly white teams. The AI systems developed for use by police are not only flawed, but also highly biased. Predictive policing algorithms are designed to predict where crimes might happen, but instead of being neutral tools, they often make existing racial inequalities worse. These systems rely on historical crime data, which is often skewed because law enforcement has targeted black and minority neighborhoods more heavily for decades. As a result, the algorithms unfairly flag these communities as high crime areas, leading to even more policing there. For example, a report by ProPublica found that risk assessment algorithms used in the criminal justice system were twice as likely to label black defendants as high risk compared to white defendants, even when the white defendants were more likely to commit another crime. Another study showed that predictive policing systems keep repeating the same bias patterns, creating a cycle where over-policed communities are flagged for more surveillance, even when no real increase in crime exists. These are just a few examples of the harm biased AI can inflict on black individuals, and there are many more. This bias has serious consequences that stretch far beyond law enforcement. Similar problems have been showing up in AI image generators, which rely on large data sets to create their outputs. For instance, experiments have shown that AI image generation systems can sometimes get quite stereotypical when tasked with producing images for professions. A study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences analyzed several image generation systems and found that professions linked to authority, prestige, and wealth were overwhelmingly represented by white males, while service-oriented roles were more often associated with black or Latino individuals. Developers frequently promise to diversify their data sets, but progress has been slow. For example, researchers have noted that even updates to widely used AI models often fail to address these biases effectively. A report by MIT Media Lab found that while some AI systems improved in recognizing diversity when explicitly prompted, they still reinforce racial stereotypes in professions. And it's not only in image generation, but in language processing as well. A study published in August 2024 revealed that large language models, like GPT 3.5 and GPT-4, show hidden racism by associating African American English with negative stereotypes. The models were more likely to suggest that speakers of African American English be assigned less prestigious jobs, be convicted of crimes, and receive harsher sentences. AI was designed to make tasks faster and more efficient. It clearly has the potential to carry and spread harmful biases. This can happen whether the people creating it deliberately intended to cause harm or simply failed to consider the impact on others. AI bias extends to financial systems as well and affects not only race, but also gender. In 2019, an investigation by the Wall Street Journal revealed that Apple's credit card algorithm systematically gave women lower credit limits than men, even when their financial profiles were identical. The issue came to light when tech entrepreneur David Heinemeier Hansson publicly reported that his wife, who shares the same financial accounts and credit history as him, was offered a credit limit 20 times lower than his. Many others reported similar cases. This is because the algorithms that decide creditworthiness often rely on historical financial data filled with gender and racial biases. A study by the Brookings Institution found that these algorithms perpetuate discriminatory practices in lending, often putting women and minorities at a disadvantage. In a way, this issue in AI mirrors long-standing systemic discrimination, like redlining, which excluded black families from fair access to loans and homeownership for decades. A similar case happened in 2021, when Mary Lewis, a black woman, was denied an apartment in Massachusetts based on a low AI-generated tenant score by Safe Rent Solutions. The algorithm did not account for her housing voucher and overly relied on credit information, which disproportionately affects low-income and minority applicants. This led to a class action lawsuit alleging discrimination, resulting in a $2.2 million settlement and modifications to the company's screening practices. And just in 2024, a federal judge allowed a groundbreaking class action lawsuit to move forward against Workday, a company that offers AI-powered hiring software. The lawsuit claims that this software, designed to help employers screen job applicants, unfairly discriminates against certain groups, including Black, older, and disabled candidates. According to the allegations, the AI system relies on biased data, leading it to favor certain applicants over others, even when they have similar qualifications. These cases clearly show how AI in financial systems can unintentionally worsen existing inequalities. Despite public outcry and promises from companies to fix the issue, the lack of transparency in how these algorithms work remains a huge problem. Without clear regulations and ethical oversight, AI-powered tools risk making the very problems they claim to solve even worse. Healthcare algorithms, too, have shown racial bias. A 2019 study published in Science revealed that an algorithm widely used by hospitals to allocate care consistently rated Black patients as less in need of medical attention compared to white patients, even when their health profiles were identical. This algorithm, which impacted millions of patients, was designed to prioritize care for individuals deemed to have the highest health risks. However, it relied on historical healthcare spending as a key indicator of health needs, a metric that is deeply flawed. The study found that Black patients historically spent less on healthcare than white patients, not because they were healthier, but due to systemic barriers such as unequal access to medical resources, discrimination in treatment, and socioeconomic factors. These disparities were reflected in the data, leading the algorithm to assume that Black patients required less care than they actually did. For example, a Black patient with chronic conditions like diabetes or heart disease might receive a lower priority score compared to a white patient with the same conditions, simply because the data incorrectly assumed their lower spending meant they had fewer medical needs. A report by the Brookings Institution highlighted that healthcare algorithms used in areas such as patient risk assessment, treatment allocation, and disease prediction often unfortunately replicate and amplify systemic inequalities. And another analysis from the New England Journal of Medicine pointed out that even well-intentioned algorithms can unintentionally make disparities worse if they are trained on data that reflects historical inequities. I'm sure many would agree that the examples we discussed today are deeply disturbing. At the same time, they are unfortunately nothing new, just another form of reckless racism that we've been dealing with for years. The reality is, AI systems are only as biased as the teams and data that create them. According to a report by McKinsey & Company, Black professionals made up just about 8% of the workforce in U.S. technology companies. And when diverse perspectives are absent during AI development, these tools can end up failing to serve all communities equitably. AI models rely on vast datasets to learn patterns, but when those datasets underrepresent certain groups, the models inherit these biases. For example, an analysis by MIT Media Lab found that commercial facial recognition systems were 34% less accurate at identifying darker-skinned women compared to lighter-skinned men, largely due to skewed training data. When AI systems harm marginalized communities, they damage trust. A Pew Research Center survey showed that Black Americans are less likely to trust AI-driven technologies. And after everything we've discussed, it's completely understandable why some people would lose trust in AI. It still struggles to make everyone feel safe and included. Meanwhile, as we've mentioned before, many developers have been trying to solve these issues, but there have been instances where their attempts went overboard.
Google has paused the image generation ability of its AI Gemini after major backlash from conservatives over historically inaccurate depictions of races.
For example, creating diverse images of the U.S. founding fathers, so a different kind of diversity problem that Google admits.
Last week, users began to notice Google Gemini's image generator inserting people of color into scenarios that didn't make sense, like responding to a prompt for an image of a German World War II soldier with a picture of an Asian woman or a Black man.
In 2024, Google faced widespread criticism after its Gemini AI image generator created historically inaccurate images based on user prompts. For example, when asked to generate pictures of German World War II soldiers, the system produced images of Black men and Asian women, groups that were largely absent from such roles during that time. Similarly, prompts about the U.S. founding fathers led to images that included racial diversity inconsistent with historical facts. These inaccuracies sparked public backlash, with many accusing Google of rewriting history to appear more inclusive. In response to the controversy, Google paused Gemini's image generation feature, acknowledging the need to refine the AI to better align with user expectations and historical accuracy. As AI continues to evolve, finding the right balance between inclusivity, accuracy, and public perception remains a very complex task. The real question now is, how can society really improve the way AI treats people of color so that everyone can feel safer with this new technology? One of the most effective ways is by increasing representation in the tech industry. Initiatives like Google's AI for Social Good and partnerships with historically black colleges and universities aim to bring more diverse voices into AI development. By expanding access to STEM education and funding minority-led startups, we can build more inclusive systems. These inclusive AI designs would benefit everyone. Methods like participatory design, which involve end users in the development process, can help identify hidden biases early on. Governments and organizations must also enforce accountability. Laws such as the EU's General Data Protection Regulation include provisions for algorithmic transparency, which can help identify and mitigate biases. Meanwhile, in the US, the Algorithmic Accountability Act aims to address similar issues, though its implementation remains limited. Artificial intelligence is definitely reshaping the world, but its benefits will remain unevenly distributed unless we address its flaws. The examples we talked about today on biased facial recognition, financial systems, and healthcare algorithms are screaming the urgent need for action. Building fair and equitable AI requires participation from all communities, both as users and creators. Let's remember, the power of AI lies in how we choose to use it. If we can foster diversity in AI development, train systems on inclusive data sets, and promote trust through accountability, we can create a future where this technology uplifts everyone rather than leaving anyone behind. The change starts with awareness and action, and that includes all of us.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people on JoynetRadio.com.
And don't forget, if you would like to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, give me a call at 615-554-0568 or send me an email at blackfocusradio.com. I can get you a sponsorship for Black Facts for as little as $5 per show. Okay? So give me a call. We'll hook it up. As you know, it gives you great information about our history. And by the way, some of y'all are still celebrating Black History Month. That's fantastic. But for me, I celebrate it 24/7. So happy Black History Month for you who decide to celebrate it just in February. That's my white counterparts. I appreciate y'all. Okay? All right. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to jump headlong into this Super Bowl analysis. At least my analysis. I should say the Super Bowl halftime show. All right? Back in a moment. You're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at JoynetRadio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to JoynetRadio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about JoynetRadio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at JoynetRadio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on JoynetRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is a number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. As I told you earlier, I did not watch the Super Bowl purposely. Part of the reason is I'm not buying what the NFL is selling as far as the racism is concerned. Of course, Little Hands Man was there as well, from what I understand. But part of the reason I want to talk a little bit about this today is because so many of you all have been talking about the halftime show and how great it was, and the symbolism and so on and so forth. And as you all know, I say symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Okay? Yeah, symbolism is great, but when there is some symbolism, symbolism is designed to make you do something. The question is, what are you all doing after what we saw on Sunday? Or what y'all saw, because I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I have thusly went back and watched it because I've seen so many people. If I had a nickel for all of the people that were talking about the Super Bowl, man, I'd be rich right now. But unfortunately, I don't have a nickel. All right? Because y'all just boggle my mind on this. Okay? So, and there are a couple of things that I'm going to throw in here. I've got a piece by Dr. Umar Johnson that I'm going to play, and I'm going to play a piece by Malcolm Jamal Warner, because I like Kendrick Lamar, okay? Hats off to what you did. White people, racist white people upset. Well, they didn't have any white dancers. Well, that was by design, okay? And what would happen if there were we did something and there were no black dancers? Well, that's been going on for 200 years, okay? From entertainment to jobs, to the computer industry. You just heard that if you listen to Black Facts about how AI is racist, and the reason it's racist is because it's being programmed by white people. So much so that there have been black men who have been arrested. So much so that there have been black people who go to hospitals and are not getting the proper care because the hospitals are using AI and suggesting that black people don't need the same type of care as white people. So much so that it's discriminating against women. It's just amazing how all of this is happening in today's society, but we should not be surprised. So I want to play a piece by Malcolm Jamal Warner first, okay? Because the reason I want to play this is because I don't listen to a lot of rap, but I've been saying for years that the rap industry has done more to destroy the black community than white people. Well, you say, well, Dave, white people own the rap industry. Exactly. And they're using black people as their pawns to go out and slay the black mentality of our people. So I want to play Malcolm Jamal Warner first, because this all has to do with the halftime show as well. Okay? And here he is. Let's see here.
Explain. Expound.
When you listen to the hip hop that gets the exposure. Right? Conscious hip hop isn't getting exposure. The messages in hip hop that get the exposure are misogyny, murder, mayhem, and disrespect of fellow black people. Right? That's not all of the hip hop that exists.
Right, but that's what mainly.
That's what gets. Yeah, like you can't have a popular hip hop song without using the N-word.
Or calling women horrible names.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like our black music has somehow become anti-black, and it's been so normalized that it gets right by us.
And it just did with me.
Yeah, the conditioning, the programming it's so powerful. Like in all of my poetry, I constantly talk about my love-hate relationship with hip hop. Right, but when those of us who are hip hop purists and we talk about how the younger generation, the hip hop, unfortunately, the success of hip hop is predicated upon being anti-black.
Do you hear that? The success of hip hop is being predicated by being anti-black. We see it every day. We see it from our own people. It's kind of like Serena Williams coming out on stage and everybody's talking about how she was crip walking and, oh, that was cool. Did you know what a crip walk is? Do you know what that symbolizes? That symbolizes murder, mayhem, and misogyny. That symbolizes a group of young black males who are disenfranchised, who wreaked havoc in southern Los Angeles. It's a gang. But y'all, Serena, you all don't get it. You all don't get it. And I'm glad, Malcolm, I found this piece, and this just really came across my feed. I don't know if someone sent it to me or what. But I've been saying for years that part of the reason that I do not embrace hip-hop is because of the murder, the mayhem, and misogyny. I just don't do it. And we shouldn't do it. The N-word. Oh, speaking of which, let's listen to Dr. Umar Johnson and what he says about the N-word, because I know you all don't believe me. And some of y'all won't believe Dr. Johnson because y'all don't like him. You know, what we do in the black community is that when we're used to doing something, and although it's wrong, when someone comes out and says it's wrong, the first thing y'all want to do is attack that person. And I'm sure you all would do the same to me, but you all know, 2 tears. I don't care. I'm 64 years old. You think I'm worrying about what you're saying about me? Not at all. But let's listen to what Dr. Umar Johnson says about the N-word, okay? And then we're going to talk a little more about this halftime show. Here we go.
Oh, heard. We should never be using the N-word, bro. And we're the only people who fight for the right to use a pejorative term. You don't see Asians fighting for the right to use the words people call them. You don't see Latinos fighting for... We're the only people who will fight for the right to use the most harmful word ever created to describe a people in the history of mankind. We sick, bro. We sick. Somebody sent me a clip. One of our celebrities was begging the white person to say the N-word. Did y'all see that? Somebody was begging the white person to say the N-word. Why would you do that? Because we love white folks. Oh, we love white folks.
Should we be getting gold and chains and diamonds and watches?
No, I want you to turn that in and put it as a down payment for an institution.
Wow. That's Dr. Umar Johnson. Okay? Did you hear what he said? We are the... Now let me tell you where the N-word came from. All right? It came from white people. And I saw a piece the other day where this guy was trying to... he tried to equate the N-word, the N-I-G-G-E-R, with the word negus, which is a derivative of Negro. And what it means is kings and queens and so on and so forth. No, brother. That word was created by white racists. Period. End of story. And we use that word interchangeably. And like Dr. Johnson said, we are the only race of people who are fighting to use a word that degrades us. Think about the negative words about a Jewish person. Think about the negative words about a Chinese or an Asian person. Think about the negative words about a Hispanic person. Do you hear those people using that word against one another? Huh? What's up, my N-word? Oh, that's my N-word. Are y'all crazy? What is wrong with us? We are sick. We are sick. And here's the thing. And I keep thinking about, when I decided to put this show together, I'm thinking about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Okay? And she said in her book, The ISIS Papers, that we need a mindectomy. Okay? We need a mindectomy. And Dr. Rosie Milligan talks about this a lot too in the book, and I'm going to say the title, Nigga Please. She talks about that as well. It was one of the first books that I had the pleasure of reading the entire Willie Lynch letter. And many people have debunked that letter, but it makes all the sense in the world. Because we have decided that we're going to let white people define us by a word. Instead of getting rid of the word, we decided that we want to embrace the word. which makes no damn sense to me whatsoever. So I would like to get rid of the word. I would like to take a day. Look, women even use that negative word to refer to their men. Okay? Now, here's the irony. If you call a woman the B word, she'll be ready to fight you. But she's okay by calling her man the N word. Huh? So what if everybody walked around and referred to that woman as my B? Oh man, that's my B. Now I know some people do. Some of these uneducated people. But what if we just let's embrace the B word. Let's embrace it. And let's start calling all women the B word. Oh, that's my B. Look at that B. Oh, come on, B. That's my B there, baby. Come on, B. Every one of those women would be upset because of its negative connotation. But you take the N word, women do, and use it and refer to it interchangeably. You see it on social media. We as friends, you call your friends that. Now, our friends don't use it. My friends don't use it. You know, we don't refer to each other as that. It's just a negative word. I don't care how you try to minimize it. It kind of reminds me of, remember a few years ago, these brothers decided that they were going to take the Confederate flag and they were going to paint it red, black, and green. And their argument, and they started even selling clothing with the Confederate flag, but the only difference was it was red, black, and green. And their argument is the same that they use for the N-word. Is that, oh, we're going to take the power out of this word. We're going to take it from white people and we're going to use it the way we see fit. No, bro. Some things need to be left in the closet. Okay? It's kind of like the what am I trying to say? It's kind of like the swastika. Now, although if you go back and you look at history, and there are some swastika images that are that are engraved on African pyramids. Some of the Native Americans used that image long before the Third Reich adopted it. But for whatever reasons now, that image is not acceptable at all. It's just not acceptable. Just like the Confederate flag should not be acceptable. Just like the N-word should not be acceptable. So I propose, let's designate a day. Can you go one day without using the N-word? Can you? Can you go one day without using the N-word? And if we can do it one day, then maybe we can expand it to a week, and then maybe a month, and then maybe a year. Now you say, well, Dave, what does all of this have to do with the halftime show? Well, again, remember what I said. Symbolism over substance without activism is nothing. And all of those people who were dying to interpret what Kendrick Lamar was trying to say, and oh, what a great show it was. Where's your activism? Where's the substance that would create the activism? Okay? Because without the substance, there's no activism. Yeah, it made you feel good for what? It was 13 minutes long. Made you feel good, yeah. But what are you going to do afterwards? What are you going to do now? What are y'all, other than posting on social media that you understand what it was all about, how are you going to take that message that Kendrick Lamar so eloquently put to you and make real change in your community, in our community? What are you going to do? That's what I'm curious about. Because after this year, it won't be no more Kendrick Lamar. In fact, this week, yeah, y'all still talking about it, but next week, y'all won't. It had over, 133 million viewers. Great numbers. But what would happen if those 133 million people decided that they were going to stand up for what's right? Now, I know all of them weren't from America because the Super Bowl is broadcast around the world. But what would happen if everyone looked at the symbolism, developed some substance, and became an activist for change? You see, that's what I'm talking about. Because that's what we need right now. We need activism. I go back and, I keep thinking about Wake Up Everybody. And there are a lot of other songs out there but for me, when I was growing up, Wake Up Everybody was such a powerful song. And I had a friend in the car the other day, and she had forgotten about that song. Before I know it, she was humming it. Wake up, everybody. You see, I told you earlier that music is one of the most powerful weapons that we can use. And part of the reason that they don't want you all to use music is because, see, the music is what moved us. Back in the 70s, Edwin Starr, War. What is it good for? Say it again, absolutely nothing. Say it again, y'all. See, that was a protest song for the Vietnam War. But what are they putting out in our communities? You saw the stories years ago where they asked the Jewish record executives, do they let their children listen to hip hop? And they said no. So it's kind of like, if it's not good for them, why is it good for us? And our men, our young black males have sold us down the river for 30 pieces of silver. And we've allowed it to happen. And it's sad. It's really sad. We've got to wake up. We've got to say, those record executives say, they cut a song and say, well, it's not hard enough. There are no B's and N words in here. There's nothing about murder, misogyny and mayhem in this music. And you all listen to it. I drive down the street and you can hear it. Car pulls up beside you. And here's what I love to do when I hear someone, because you've got to be embarrassed at some of the language that is going out. And I drive up beside them, and I hear it, and I hit my button and roll my window up. I saw one brother, he just looked over me, and he smiled. He laughed. He thought it was cute. I did it with another brother, and the other brother actually turned his music down. It's not appropriate. I don't want my kids listening to it. You shouldn't want your kids listening to it. It is nothing more than brainwashing. That's what music is. That's what entertainment is. That's what it's all about. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. We're going to stick on this the entire hour because it is so important that we begin to understand how they are manipulating us. Because while you're listening to hip hop and you're listening to and watching all those stupid shows on TV, they're robbing you blind. They're robbing you of your future. They're robbing your grandparents of their retirement. Back in a moment. It's called Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices, on JoynetRadio.com.
Listen! Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on JoynetRadio.com.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. Hit me up on blackfocusradio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. A lot of stuff to talk about today. We're talking a little bit about this Super Bowl show. Symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Okay. Another thing that I have, because, are you going to take what you saw on that show, How many of y'all are going to go register to vote? By now, you've figured out that registering to vote and voting has consequences. See the person in the White House today. You all didn't believe that, okay? So now that you've got your marching papers from Kendrick Lamar, you believe that he was trying to send you a message, and you got that message. Did you? So how many of y'all went out and registered to vote Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday and even today? How many of y'all did that? Because you got the message, remember? Because, see, the only way that you can really make change in this country is with your vote. I've been telling you there are two ways, and they're both about voting. One is about the ballot. You got to go and vote. And the other one is about the dollar. When you go and spend your money with someone, you're voting for that business. Just like many of you all now are not going out to spend money at Walmart. And Walmart, I think their stock prices fell last week 3%. We talked about Target, and they've lost $15.7 billion since the boycott. There's another big boycott that's going to take place on February 28th. Don't shop. It's time to send a message. But how many of you all are going to, number one, vote with your pockets, your pocketbooks, and vote with your ballots? How many of y'all are going to do that? You got the message from Kendrick Lamar, right? You all have interpreted that show ad infinitum. At one point on Monday and Tuesday, man, every time I tune into Facebook, and as I said, even white people were interpreting it. Wow, that's great. It's fantastic that Kendrick Lamar could have such a reach. But again, symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Hello? So how many of y'all are going to go out and become active? Because that's the only way we can foster change in this country. That's the only way. How many of you all have the courage, now that Kendrick Lamar has sparked you, to do something? That's pretty deep, huh? Yeah, that's pretty deep. It's kind of like what I've been saying for years on this show about what we must do. Is that we've got to start putting eyes on our dollars. $1.7 billion annually, more than the gross national product of Canada, more than the 9th largest nation in the world. Symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Are y'all listening to me? How many of you all are going to go out and do something now that Kendrick Lamar has sent y'all a message? You all say, this young brother is a prophet. You all say, this young brother means something. If he really means something, let's stop using the N-word. Let's stop listening to gangster rap, hip-hop that does nothing more than destroy your minds. Because, see, they understand that if I keep you occupied with BS, you won't pay attention to what's really going on around the world. Hello? You won't pay attention. That's what's important here. We've got to start paying attention to what is happening in this world. Because after all, we live in this world. We cannot allow other people to dictate who we are, where we are, and how we name ourselves, how we call what we call ourselves. We cannot allow that to continue. That's part of the reason that we are in the predicament that we are in. Okay? That's part of the reason. So how many of y'all are going to go out and vote? You all ought to be sitting down because, see, young people, let me tell you something. I'll be 64 in May. And you've heard me say this over and over again on this show. There's more time behind me than I have ahead of me. You know, at this point in my life, I could probably be gone here in the next year, the next month. I could, in other words, I could be dead. This world is you all's now. What type of world do you want? What type of world do you want? Because you can change it. Okay? You can change it. You know, part of the reason I love the 7 principles, or I should say in Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, my favorite one was Kuja Chakalia. Because this is probably the most important thing that we have to do. Define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. That's the principle on which I built Black Focus Radio. I talked to you last week about the importance of Black radio because we have got to deliver the messages that we need to our own people, because the white media is not doing that. They never have done that. Oh yeah, they'll do it when they can make some ratings, but they don't care about our communities. They just simply don't. That's why we have to support Black media. Just imagine if you all supported Black media as much as you all supported hip hop, man, we'd be in such good shape. It would be amazing. Because see, the hip hop stations that you all support, the majority of them are owned by white folks. The white people are making money off of Black people. But our Black people are going out and using the N-word and calling us everything but the child of God. It's okay. We've got to change this. So if you watch the Super Bowl halftime show and you truly believe in what Kendrick Lamar was trying to tell you, and Samuel L. Jackson and all those Black dancers and that American flag, and you know the subliminal message about it being shaped in a PlayStation controller, because we spend a lot of time playing games, but we don't spend much time building our community. I talk a lot about me being a Black-owned business. You know, today I learned about a Black-owned business website that is pushing Black products. I sent them a message and said, hey, look, how can I get you to list my product? And I'm willing to even give you free advertising on my show, Black Focus Radio. And I am. Because we've got to start collaborating. You know, we get so caught up in needing and wanting money, we forget that sometimes high tides raises all boats. So if all of us is doing well, then guess what? All of us will do well. So did you really get the message from Kendrick Lamar? Look, you're certainly interpreting it. You can tell me what you think it meant, but did it really mean what you think it meant? Because remember, symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. So that great halftime show that you all loved so well, it's going to mean nothing in a week. Oh, I know you all will refer back to it. Oh man, KL man, Kendrick man, he brought it, man. Is that all you're gonna have after this show? Is praising Kendrick Lamar and not having anything left to say about it? Is that all what you're gonna say? I'm curious. I mean, don't get mad at me. I'm just trying to make this thing real. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to impart some knowledge on you where it will make you become that activist that we need, that our people need in order to move forward. That's what I'm saying. I was thinking about the Million Man March the other day. Why haven't we had another Million Man March? I was thinking about Martin Luther King. Why haven't we had another movement about civil rights? You see, those rappers, they don't care about you. Maybe Kendrick Lamar does, and based on, I've done a little research on this young brother, and this young brother is active. He's doing a lot of things in the Black community. You all hate LeBron James, but how can you hate a man that does so much for the black community. That's that sickness. You know, at the end of the day, your man was Jordan. Jordan has nothing to do with this. Because Jordan never did the things that LeBron James has done. Okay? We need to embrace our brothers and sisters who are trying to build our communities, who are taking the monies that they are earning and building our communities. Those brothers who are not, we need to kick them to the curb. We must demand that if we're going to support you, then you're going to give back. And that's more than just turkeys on holidays. That's more than roses on Valentine's Day. That's more than going and buying clothes or buying toys during Christmas. We must demand that. Part of the reason that I was such a huge fan of Steve McNair, he didn't talk about his activism, but man, that brother had some activism going on. Football camps where people are charging $100, $150. Steve McNair made sure that he had football camps where they were free, because he knew that some families had 3 and 4 kids. They couldn't afford to pay for one, let alone 3 or 4 of them. And then number 2, a lot of those families were black. The white kids was packing these football camps. Black kids couldn't because they couldn't afford to pay. Symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Thanks, Kendrick, for a great halftime show. Now, the question that you should do, or the thing that you should do, is follow up and say, okay, you loved my halftime show. Now, what are you going to do? How are you going to take that symbolism and create substance in order to be an activist? That's the key. We got to take the top of the hour break. We'll be back in a little bit. And just remember, before I go, a voteless people is a voiceless people. A voiceless people is a defenseless people. And a defenseless people is a contradiction to a democracy. Back in a little while.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at JoynetRadio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to JoynetRadio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about JoynetRadio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at JoynetRadio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on JoynetRadio.com.
Listen!
Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on JoynetRadio.com. Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at JoynetRadio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to JoynetRadio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word word about JoynetRadio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at JoynetRadio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on JoynetRadio.com.
Listen!
Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on JoynetRadio.com.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
All right, welcome back to the second hour of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. We spent a lot of the last hour with my own interpretation of what we must do as it relates to the Super Bowl halftime show. And we're going to follow up. And, I was listening. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tim Wise. This brother, and I call him a brother even though he's a white guy, speaks truth to power every chance he gets. And he is an individual that I'm very, very proud of. And I often listen to him. I often am amazed at his delivery. And we all should at some point decide that, hey, we need to pay more attention to what he's saying. And one of the things that I saw a video of him last week. And I'm 63 years old, almost 64, and it's amazing how I continue to learn every day. The moment you stop learning, you might as well be dead, as far as I'm concerned. And unfortunately, many of you all are dead. You're literally walking dead, because many of y'all don't learn. You all don't continue to learn. You all have, that's how my mama did it, and that's how I'm going to do it. Well, maybe you might need to rethink the whole thing, okay? And just to piggyback on the last hour, I want you all to understand something here. I want you to understand power. And power in this country is collective wealth. I often tell you, the more than the 9th largest nation in the world, more than the gross domestic product of Canada, $1.3 to 4 to 5, trillion annually. But we don't use it to benefit our people. But they do. Did you know that our federal government is taking your tax dollars, and Elon Musk is getting approximately $8 million every day? Someone that is not even born in this country. Someone that was not even voted into office. He's living off of your tax dollars. So Tim Wise said something the other day that just stunned me. It stunned me. If you take the top 400 millionaires and billionaires in this country, did you know that they are worth more than the gross domestic product of every black person in America? Did you hear me? Only 400 white people have more money than every black person in America. Let me further expound that. If you take the top 1,000 white people and compare them to all of the Hispanics and all of the black people, did you know that 1,000 white people have more money than the black race and the Hispanic race in this country combined? Did y'all know that? When I heard that, I was floored. It's one of those things where you hear and you just close your eyes and you just fall flat on your face because it's stunning. Are y'all paying attention here? Do y'all understand what's going on in this country? Because I really don't think y'all do. I really don't think y'all do. And we constantly taking them our money. Walmart, Target. Target removed for black, the irony is that Target removed the Black History Month and put it all on clearance sale. And that all the Black History items, put it on clearance. They basically said they don't need you. They think you're going to pay anyway. That's what they're saying to you. Man, we're lost. But I appreciate Tim Wise. And by the way, if you want to hear what he had to say, in fact, tell you what, let me just pull that up because I want you to hear this because I know y'all think, oh, well, Dave, he just making that up, he just making it up. That's really not true. Really? Am I just making it up? So let me just quickly pull this up for you so you can hear it for yourself because, I was stunned. Every day, and I tell y'all all the time, every day I learn something new. Every day, and I'm proud of that. So it's about economic power. It's about genetic power. And there are a lot of white people, what did they say? 70% of white men voted for Donald Trump. 60% of white men voted for Donald Trump. And 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump. Yeah, they not like us. And they don't like us. Okay? And that, that's catchy. That's, they not like us. They not like us. You're right. They're not poor. Their kids are not inhabiting our jails. They're supporting our communities, their communities. They're making money hand over fist. You're right, they're not like us. We should be asking the question. Maybe, just maybe, we should start thinking about being like them, or at least borrowing some of the traits that they stole from us, because many of those traits were stolen from us. And now we're trying to pretend like they don't matter. Give me an example. Someone posted something to my wall, and it was about some baby carriage, just carrying, and it's called a Canadien. And there are two images, and this item is on the shelf. It's for newborn babies who decided that they would, they carry them on their chest, right? They have a white example and a black example. Here's the white example. They have the mom, the baby, and someone who represents the husband. Okay? For the black example, they just have the mom. There's no black man in her picture. Hello? Y'all getting this? I'm just asking for a friend because you all don't get this. Y'all are not paying attention. I don't know why, but you all are not paying attention. So I don't believe I can't find this thing with Tim Wise. But I'll post it later. In fact, I'll repost it. Maybe when I go to the next break, we'll look at it and see what's going on. But I just want you all to pay attention, man. I know you all say, well, Dave, you talk about the same thing every day. Damn Skippy. Yep, we do. We talk about there's a derivative thereof. It may not be the exact same thing, but it all falls into place. It's by design. They don't want you to be successful at all. That's why they don't want you to know your history. That's why they're getting rid of your history. That's why they don't want you to know about your culture. That's why they're getting rid of your culture. This is all by design. They don't want you to know what you're eating. They don't want you to know. That's why, all the black facts that I've covered over the last 8 years since I've been doing this show, I would argue that black fact is probably the most profound that I've done about AI. Go back and listen to it. Sit down and listen to it. All right? So here's Tim Wise. I want to play this. I want to play this. Okay? And let me start it over so you all can get the breadth and the depth of what he was saying. All right? Because it is so important. And it's only going to take a minute, but I want y'all to understand where we are with this. Okay? Here we go.
400 wealthiest white people in this country have the same cumulative amount of wealth as all 41 million black people in this country combined. Let me restate so you know that I did not misstate. 400 people, the same cumulative amount of wealth as all 41 million black folks combined, right? And the wealthiest 1,000 people, the same amount, 1,000 white people, the same amount of cumulative wealth as all black and Latino folks in this country combined. Now, no one in their right mind is going to suggest that there are 400 white people that have worked that much harder than all black Americans and 1,000 that have worked that much harder than all black and Latino folks. And yet, if that's not the explanation, what is? Well, this inertia, this ability to rack up advantages. It's like an 8-lap race. I've got a 5-lap head start. Here's the deal. I'm supposed to cross the finish line first. That's how that happens, right? And in fact, if I start out with a 5-lap head start and at the end of the race, I'm only up by 4, I'm not the faster runner, right? So in fact, if any of those gaps shrink at all, it ought to tell you something. That is that some folks are actually working harder, running faster, metaphorically speaking, and still, because of inertia, lag behind. So we have to...
You get that? It's kind of like that Monopoly analogy that I love so much. Try playing Monopoly. And you play without your $200 advance. Everybody who's ever played Monopoly, you get a $200 advance. Try playing Monopoly without that $200 advance. In fact, you get 4 white people and 4 black people. And all the white people, and this would be a great class project. If you want to teach someone about racism and how what they did to black people in slavery and how it affects us today, the best way to do it is the game of Monopoly. And you start off by not giving white people their $200 advance and giving black people the $200 advance. As a matter of fact, the $200 advance that you would give to the white people, you give it to the black people. Now, each one of those 4 black people have $400. The 4 white people have nothing. Now, play the game. Who will go out first? If you know the game, you know right off the bat that white people will go out first. Okay? Because every time you make a trip around the board, you get another $200. So let's say, for instance, for the lack of argument, because you play the game, and, oh, by the way, let's include this rule. that all 4 of the black people go first. I forgot about that. This is something I'm just adding. Because ever since I heard this analogy, I said, man, that's the best way to put it. So let me add another layer to this. Let's take the 4 black people and let's put them first. Okay? With their $400. The first time a white person can go, he will be 5th to roll the dice. Now, by the time those 400 white people go, all of the property has been bought up, or the majority of it. How long are they going to last? The irony is that it really speaks to the resiliency of black people, because we started with nothing, and even to be in the predicament that we're in today, it tells you just how powerful we are, and they know this. So I dare you to play the game of Monopoly the way I just said. Just alter the rules a little bit. Better still, you can even not give the extra $200 to the black people. I guarantee you not one of those white people will win that Monopoly game, because that's what America is based on. Money, power, prestige. So what are we going to do here, folks? There's a lot that's going on that we're not paying attention to. 400 people has more cumulative wealth than 41 million black folks. 1,000 people have more cumulative wealth than black folks and Latinos. Latinos, what the hell are y'all doing? Why are y'all supporting a Republican administration who clearly doesn't give a damn about you? And they've told you, you know now, y'all got fafoed badly. I saw a video yesterday of this Latino guy, and he was going off on black people. Apparently this was initially formed before the election, or filmed before the election, I should say. And he was dogging black folks. And I'm a Trump supporter, yada, 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 yada. He made a follow-up video after the election. And you know, his voice was not raised anymore. Because in that previous video, he was literally screaming about black folks and how he hate black people and this, that, and the other, and they're lazy, and yeah. The follow-up video was, he had a calm demeanor. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't hollering. And you know, one of the things that he was talking about is that black folks and Latinos need to come together and work together for a greater good. Because now he's realizing that white people ain't like us. Ain't like us. You see, you got more black in you than you have white. But because you've been brainwashed, just like we've been brainwashed, to think that white is right. That's what you've done. White is not right. If it's not about the human condition, if it's not about human beings, then it should not matter. It simply should not matter. So that's where we are today, folks. We've got to put eyes on our dollars. We've got to put eyes on our votes. Any idiot who now goes forward and says voting doesn't matter, then you're a damn fool. And you all should run from them. And you know, I keep seeing these posts of people saying, well, you know, if you have someone who don't disagree with you politically, who doesn't agree with you politically, or do you defriend him? I do. Okay? I don't care if you're white, black, or polka dot, because see, if you support this administration, then you're racist. And white people are mad. Well, stop calling us racist because we supported Trump. Well, wait a minute. Those people who fought for the Confederacy, were you racist? Those people who fought for the Third Reich, Were you Nazis? So now that you're supporting Trump and what he's doing, yeah, you're a racist. And you see, I can't be a friend with a racist. There are a couple of people, white people that I knew, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't really trust them anyway, but they did build a relationship with me. I've seen their post. I don't know if I told you the story of the young lady that we were dear friends in high school. Okay? And after years, we were able, thanks to Facebook, to reconnect. She was white. I'll tell you, her first name was Christy. She was in my homeroom. She was in my homeroom from 6th grade all the way through high school. That's just how much I knew Christy. Christy and Jamie. Now, I've not been able to reconnect with Jamie. I don't know where she is, but I did reconnect with Christy based on Facebook. Okay? And we started talking and reminiscing and going on and so forth. And then she started talking about race. And she slipped and said something. And then she said, oh, but Dave, you're not like that. You know, the blacks this and the blacks that. I said, Christy, as I listened to her, she said, you're awful quiet. I said, Christy, did you forget that I was black? She said, oh, but I know you're not like that. I know you're on Facebook and I followed your page and I did research on you and I'm very proud of you, but you're not like that. And I said, but you're pigeonholing all of the other black folks that are out there, because there are black folks out there that are a lot better off than I am. I had to let Christy go. I was happy to reconnect, but I was saddened because Christy had devolved into a bigot. One of my dear friends in college, same. Some of the guys I played with in college, when I look at their Facebook pages, same. Some of my teammates. In fact, the only teammates that I have friended or we're friends are the black ones, even the ones in high school. Because I'm not going to accept your bigotry. Now, there are one or two that we're friends. I'm simply not going to accept your bigotry. Anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back, remember, symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. When we come back, I'm trying to decide, I do want to talk a little bit about the ethnic cleansing. I want to talk about the white privilege of Steve Bannon. I don't know if you all heard about this. And let's see. And if I get a chance, I want to read something from a Canadian journalist. In fact, I may do that when we come back because it plays into what we've been talking about. Because you all knew. But your bigotry and your racism allowed you to go against what your common sense is. Back in a moment. It's called Black Focus Radio, Our Issues, Our Solutions, Our Voices on JoynetRadio.com.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com. Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from RearBrub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on RearBrub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found skintentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
Skintentional.com?
Yes, skintentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, Skintentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils, and yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to skintentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. Skintentional.com.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
All right, if it's Monday, it's Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. Welcome back to the show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We've been talking a lot about race and culture and the Super Bowl halftime show, this election, what's going on with Little Hands Man and his cronies. I want to read this to you. This is from a guy by the name of Mike Greenberg. Not the Greenberg that's on ESPN. This is a guy who is a Canadian journalist. And what you all don't realize is, see, when you hit a bully in the mouth, that bully in all likelihood would back down because the bully has never been hit in the mouth. I'll give you an example. I was watching a video earlier today. I watch a lot of strange videos, and this was no exception. It was a video about this guy who had a farm and how he has to trap wild animals in order to keep his livestock from being eaten or poached by these animals. I mean, he has bears and mountain lions and so on and so forth. And one of the videos he showed was about a dog and a mountain lion. And this dog was probably half the size of the mountain lion. And they were scrapping, okay? And the dog ended up running the mountain lion off because the mountain lion realized, hey, I'm over this right here. So if you punch a bully in the mouth, that bully will leave. So what we've got to start doing is punching back. That's what Canada did. You know, did you know that 50% of our oil reserves come from Canada? We've talked about this on the show. Canada said, hey, look, if you're going to put tariffs on our goods, we're going to put tariffs on y'all. And by the way, we're going to cut your energy consumption. So that means your oil and your gas is going to go up. By the way, those tariffs have not been enacted as of yet, right? You punch a bully in the mouth, that bully will walk away. But this Canadian journalist decided to write a piece, an op-ed in the Toronto Globe and Mail. And his name is, it's not Mike Greenberg. His name is Andrew Cohn of the Toronto Globe and Mail. Here's what it says. Nothing mattered in the end. Not the probable dementia, the unfathomable ignorance, the emotional incontinence, not certainly the shambling hate-filled campaign or the ludicrously unworkable anti-policies. The candidate, out on bail in 4 jurisdictions, the convicted fraud artist, the adjudicated rapist, the serial sexual predator, the habitual bankrupt, the stooge of Vladimir Putin, the man who tried to overturn the last election and all his creepy retinue of crooks, ideologues, and lunatics. Americans took a long look at this and said, Yes, please. There is no reason to understand the depth of the disaster. This is a crisis like no other in our lifetimes. The government of the United States has been delivered into the hands of a gangster whose sole purpose is running besides staying out of jail is to seek revenge on his enemies. The damage Donald Trump and his nihilist cronies can do to America, but also to the Democratic allies and to the peace and security of the world, is incalculable. We are living in the time of Nero. The first 6 months will be a time of maximum peril. NATO must, from this moment, be considered effectively obsolete without the American security guaranteed that has always been its bedrock. We may see incursions by Russia into Europe. The poor Ukrainians are probably done for, but now it is the Baltics and the Poles who must worry. Before the Europeans have time to organize an alternative, China may also accelerate its Taiwanese ambitions. At home, Mr. Trump will be moving swiftly to consolidate his power. Some of this will be institutional, the replacement of tens of thousands of career civil servants with Trumpian loyalists, but some of it will be atmospheric. At some point, someone, a company whose chief executive has displeased him, a media critic who has gotten under his skin, will find themselves the subject of unwanted attention from the Trump administration. It may not be so crude as a police arrest. It might just be a little regulatory matter, a tax audit, something like that. They will seek the protection of the courts and find it's not there. The judges are also Trump loyalists, perhaps, or too scared to confront him. Or they might issue a ruling and find it has no effect that the administration has called the basic bluff of liberal democracy. The idea that in the crunch, people in power agree to be bound by the law and by its instruments, the courts, the same as everyone else. Then everyone will take their cue. Executives will line up to court him. Media organizations, the large ones anyway, will find reasons to be cheerful. Of course, in reality, things will start to fall apart fairly quickly. The huge across-the-board tariffs he imposes will tank the world economy. The mass deficits fueled by his ill-judged tax policies, he won't replace the income tax as he promised, but will fill it with holes and monetized at his direction by the Federal Reserve will ignite a new round of inflation. Most of all, the insane project of deporting 12 million undocumented immigrants, finding them, rounding them up, and detaining them in hundreds of internment camps around the country, probably for years before doing so, will consume his administration. But by then, it will be too late. We should not count on the majority of Americans coming to their senses in any event. They were not able to see Trump for what he was before. Why should that change? Would they not rather be further coarsened by the experience of seeing their neighbors dragged off by the police or the military, further steeled to the necessity of doing tough things to restore order? Some won't, of course, but they will find in time that the democratic levers they might once have pulled to demand change are no longer attached to anything. There are still elections, but the rules have been altered. There are certain obstacles, certain disadvantages. If you are not with the party of power, it will seem easier at first to try to change things from within. Then it will be easier not to change things. All of this will wash over Canada in various ways. Some predictable, like the flood of refugees seeking escape from the camps. Some less so, like the coarsening of our own politics, the debasement of morals and norms by top politicians who have discovered there is no political price to be paid for it, and who will have their backing, the backing of their patron in Washington. All my life, I've been an admirer of the United States and its people, but I am frightened for it now. I am frightened of it now, and I am even more frightened of them. What a profound letter. I had to read that in its entirety because we are in difficult times. That's why that first hour was so important, for you to understand symbolism over substance without activism means nothing. Our neighbors are scared. Our alliance with NATO is dissolving. And just this week, Donald Trump decided that he wants to move all of the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip. I've asked you, go back and look at a map of Palestine prior to 1948. You're saying, well, Dave, why should I do that? Well, let me tell you why you should do that. Because that land was called Palestine. Even in the Bible refers to Palestine. Where is that land now? It has been occupied by Israelis. Some of them who are not even native to that area. Some of them who came from other parts of the world, because in 1948, the United Nations decided that they were going to take that land from the people that were on that land and give it to white Jews. That's just the bottom line on it. That's history. That's why they don't teach you geography anymore. They don't want you to know that. So this past week, Donald Trump decided, because you know Israel has been wanting to have ethnic cleansing. You know, and I find it so ironic that here is a people, the Jews, who were treated so unfairly by Hitler. 6 million in concentration camps. They do nothing more today than do the same thing that Hitler wanted to do. And now, Benjamin Netanyahu, who has wanted ethnic cleansing to go on in the Middle East for decades, now has his way, because you got an American president who is a bigot and a racist, who have decided that he's going to back the Jews and get rid of the Palestinians, the people who originally owned that land. And what he's trying to do is negotiate with Egypt and Jordan and some of the other Middle Eastern countries and say, you need to take these people. I pray to God that those countries say, no, we're not taking these people. No, we're not. Their land is in Palestine. So what Donald Trump wants to do is put an economic hardship on those other countries so that they can ethnically cleanse Gaza of the Palestinians. You know, that has happened before here in America. It's called the Trail of Tears. It's from Stonewall Jackson, who decided to take the Indians, before the ones that they couldn't kill with war or with smallpox laced blankets. They decided to have the Trail of Tears, where they marched them out of the South, out of Arkansas, out of northern Alabama, out of the East, and marched them to Oklahoma, to reservations. Those who did not die survived. But that nation, that native nation, and by the way, if you remember Black Facts last week, That Black Facts told you that the majority of those people who were in the Trail of Tears, who were enslaved, were black people. They were Native Americans. So, should we be upset about this? I would think so. You should be upset about this. Your government is doing ethnic cleansing, not just in Gaza, but here in America too. And you all are not even paying attention, because them sending all of these immigrants away, they're not sending the white immigrants away. Remember, there are illegal Irish immigrants here. There are illegal Norwegian immigrants here. There are illegal Russian immigrants here. There are all kinds of illegal white immigrants here in America. Their communities are not being assaulted by this administration. But those communities that are black and brown are being assaulted over and over again, financially, economically, and physically by this administration. So it should not surprise us that Donald Trump wants to ethnically cleanse Gaza, because he's ethnically cleansing, or trying to ethnically cleanse America. But you see, he can't get rid of this 41 million black folks, and we still having babies. And white genetic annihilation is real. It's happening. It's not gonna be complete in my lifetime, but it's happening. And white people are afraid. And I hope you get your just desserts. I really, really do. So, on that note, we're gonna take another break. When we come back, we're gonna wrap up the show. Remember, a voteless people is a voiceless people. A voiceless people is a defenseless people. A defenseless people is a contradiction to democracy. When I come back, I'm gonna expound on that. Y'all, hang 10. It's Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on JoynetRadio.com.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com. Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from RearBrub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on RearBrub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found SkinTentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
SkinTentional.com?
Yes. SkinTentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, SkinTentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils. And yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to SkinTentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. SkinTentional.com.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all, and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. This is the last segment for today. Of course, I wanted to talk a little bit about the ordeal that I had at Johns Hopkins. But I will talk about that here, and I'll probably make a separate video for that I'll post. But I want to talk a little bit about my saying. I stumbled upon my notebook from high school about a few months back while I was moving to the DMV area. It was a yellow notebook where I would always put quotes and stuff on it. And one of the quotes that was on, one of the things that I put on there was positive power. Although many of you all don't know, my childhood was kind of difficult. My family life was not conducive to what many of you all may have been able to live and grow up with. Although a lot of times you all, my friends, didn't know that I was going through what I was going through. So I had one saying in there called, positive power is pure energy. And I kept being positive. I wanted to be positive. And I knew that if I just stayed positive, that pure energy that was created from that positive power would manifest itself in my life. And it did. The other saying, or one of the other sayings that I had on there, was about voting. And it's the one that you've heard me quote quite often on the show today. And you've heard me quote it before. A voteless people is a voiceless people. A voiceless people is a defenseless people. A defenseless people is a contradiction to democracy. So, what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. You see, in America, you may seem insignificant. You may be crapped on by those who have power. But once you become 18 years of age in America, your voice can be heard individually and collectively. And the reason that it can be heard is that we have that unalienable right to vote. Okay? We can vote. And with that vote, that becomes our voice. Your voice. But remember, the first line of that saying is a voteless people is a defenseless people. Hello? In other words, if you are not voting, you have no defense. You have no control. You have now ceded your control to someone else because other people are voting. So you have no defense when they come into your neighborhoods and they raid your neighborhoods. When they bring tanks and police. When they kill your children. Oh, you can get on social media and you can write letters, you can complain to your friends, but at the end of the day, you have no defense. A voteless people is a defenseless people. Excuse me, is a voiceless people. You have no voice. A voteless people is a voiceless people. And when you have no voice, what can you do? Because once you have no voice, remember the second line is a voiceless people is a defenseless people. So now you don't vote, so you don't have a voice. No one is hearing you because you sat on the sideline. You said all the things are rigged. So now you have no voice. Oh, you can complain to your friends. You can put it in symbolism on a music video. but you still have no voice. And then suddenly you have no defense, because without a voice, no one is hearing you. No one is hearing the problems that are going on in your community. No one cares because they can't hear you, because you did not vote, because now you have no voice. Hello? Somebody hear me out there? So now that you have no voice, you have no defense. See these immigrants. See, they have no voice because they have no vote. So because they have no vote, they have no voice, now they have no defense. So now the bigots and the racists have taken over the government, and they are now going into those communities and seizing them and sending them God knows where. Remember, a voteless people is a voiceless people. A voiceless people is a defenseless people. The immigrants have no defense. And as we sit around and say, oh, how terrible that is, and that's so sad that they're doing those people that way, well, they're doing us that way too. They're shooting us down in the streets. They're incarcerating our people. They're incarcerating our black men because they know the genetic material that is blessed upon us by the Creator cannot be used if you are in prison. I tend to believe that many of the reasons that they are pushing so much gay and lesbianism in the black community is because they don't want you to breed. They don't want you to have black children. I've said for a long time that if they could make abortions illegal for black people, I should say, let black people have abortions and make it illegal for white people, they do that. As a matter of fact, just this past week, the state of Louisiana, who has passed an anti-abortion law, is trying to get New York State to extradite a doctor who provided an abortion for a woman that was from Louisiana. Did y'all know that? They're doing everything. This is all about white genetic annihilation. So now we come to the third part of my saying. Remember, a voteless people is a voiceless people. A voiceless people is a defenseless people. A defenseless people is a contradiction to democracy. The question is, do we still want this democracy? The question is, how can we even live in this democracy when we are defenseless to the government? We're sitting right now and watching a white man and his cronies fire every black person that's possible. This racist and bigot decided that when they had the plane crashes, that it was because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. In other words, because of, excuse my vernacular, niggers. Because I told you last week that anytime you hear DEI from white people, that's what they're calling you in your face. And you all are so stupid you don't even know it. Because you're defenseless. You're a contradiction to democracy because you're defenseless. You don't realize that this country is about to be stolen back to the pre-1950s. I was encouraged a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about it on the show, when the people from Cleveland decided that, hey, you white supremacists are not going to march in our neighborhood. It should be like that. I remember when I first moved to Atlanta years ago. Yeah, I lived in Atlanta for a year. And I just didn't like Atlanta. That's why I didn't stay. And they had a white supremacist march. And do you know that those black folks in Atlanta ran them white supremacists up out of Atlanta? The police, they would not let you get within within 2 blocks of the march. Let's say the march was going down Piedmont. You couldn't get within 2 blocks of Piedmont. And there were throngs of black and white anti-protest. See, those people weren't voiceless. They weren't defenseless. In Cleveland, they weren't voiceless or defenseless. But we have ceded our defendings, our security to people like Donald Trump because we don't vote. Because without voting, you don't have a voice. And without a voice, you don't have a defense. And without a defense, why are you even in this damn democracy? This is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I know. It is. It's the wildest thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's amazing, that little saying that's on my folder, and I've got that folder around here somewhere, that little saying on my folder that I wrote on my folder probably in 1977. No, it had to be 76. I was a sophomore in high school, and I had that folder all that time. It's amazing how that one little saying now is so profound. And we as black people don't get it. And yeah, I'm saddened. We are in dangerous times. The question is, are we going to sit back and allow this to continue? Or are we going to stand up and say, enough is enough? So you say, and before I go, you say, Dave, well, how do we fix it? It's simple. Go fill out a voter registration card. And when the midterms come up here in 26, they'll be here before you know it. It's already 25, 26 is a year away. You need to flock to the polls like you flock to a football game, like you flock to Black Friday, like you flock to a meal when you starve. Flock to the polls and vote against anything that's anti-democratic. And right now, you don't have to look far. You don't have to figure out what's anti-democratic, because we know what's anti-democratic. The Republican Party. And don't get fooled with that, well, you know, the Democrats do the same thing. Well, to some extent they do. But think about it. It was the Democrats who gave you the affordable health care. It's the Democrats who are trying to hold the line and keep them from stealing your Social Security money. Hello? There is a distinct difference. And then, as I've told you over and over again, now when the Democrats get back in office, if they don't do what you say, then you need to vote them out. Don't stop voting for people who say things and get in office and don't do what they say, like Donald and his minions. That's what you do. That's how we can save this democracy that we've grown up in. Although difficult for black people, I would not live anywhere else. That way we can save this for our children, and then they can look back. Because see, my generation, the children that we've had, can look back to the 60s and say, hey, look what they did for us. We stand on their shoulders. It's time for this generation to broaden their shoulders so that my children's children's children can stand on your shoulders. And as I close, just to remember, a voteless people is a voiceless people. A voiceless people is a defenseless people. A defenseless people is a contradiction to democracy. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. Send me an email at blackfocusradio.com. And of course, if you would like to sponsor this show, we could use your support. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on JoynetRadio.com.